I'm just trying to figure out why it's so dark for me here, but welcome to episode 10 of the Cursed Chat Back. Hi, Sumabuki in Taiwan. Lovely to see you. Hi, Jeff. Hi, MHR. Hi, Corb. Hi, 8BH Studio. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Dot. Yes, what a finale. We've got some competition. We're going to bring on a guest straight away. We're not going to waste any more time. We've got the one and only legend that is Corbin Bernsen ready to join us. So hopefully he will join us right now. Just calling him and seeing that he's going to pick up. Hey, Corb, how are you?
Hello.
How are you, Corbin? Can you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
I'm very well. I do hear you. It's 11 o'clock in London here tonight. It's 6 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 3 p.m. in Los Angeles. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks so much for doing it.
That's great. Great to be in England for a moment.
Thank you. Well, we're broadcasting worldwide. Corbin, just to give you some background, we've been doing a talk show about the curse since episode 1, and obviously episode 10 has just dropped. So we've kind of grown our audience for the last 10 weeks as the show has been shown on Paramount and Showtime, etc.
Right.
And so we're delighted to have you here. I mean, are you aware of the kind of sensation that this finale has caused over the last week on the internet?
Not really specifically. I mean, I know the show has created this buzz. I've been around a couple of shows that get that kind of buzz. But I didn't know about the finale. I just saw the finale myself the other night. So, and I didn't know what the finale was. When we were doing it, I knew I wasn't in it, I was told. And they didn't really have a script. And they sort of, the only thing I know is they had to go to a studio to do it. Most of our stuff was on location. And I heard something about Nathan floating away, but I think I was as amazed as everyone.
Yeah, let me pick you up on a couple of things there. I'll come back to you on the studio thing, but just to kind of fill you in, I would say that the most talked about TV show on the internet in the last 7 days has been the finale of The Curse, because I think that people have been kind of blown away by it. It's kind of been under the radar, but now it's just exploded because of the surrealness of this finale. And
Right.
Do you think they had to go to the studio just because they had to do that kind of like upside down house thing? That must be why they had to do it when I was watching it. Yeah.
Yeah. They definitely. Well, to see a guy float off into the universe, yeah, you certainly have to. But I was quite blown away with it. I have to tell you, because I you're in it and you only are in so much of it, and you see it and you read the scripts and you just don't quite know how it's going to turn out. And I got to that last episode and I was oddly moved by that separation between the two characters, between Nathan and Emma. The tension, it felt, as surreal as it was, it felt like a very real tension, and I was blown away by it. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I mean, I'll talk to you a little bit about my view on it as a kind of 54-year-old man who's lived through a lot of American TV shows.
Right.
You talked about the kind of tension between the kind of Nathan Fielder character and the Emma Stone character, but overall, I'm still at a loss. I'm still processing how to read this final episode. What are your kind of like headline thoughts on how to read what was actually going on there?
Well, as I'm pushing 70, and one thing I realize as you get older in life, you make your bed and you sleep in it. And I've read all the things. Oh, is this just the curse? Was that the curse acting out? Is it that strange world where we think there are curses, there aren't curses, but there are curses, and in fact you float off impossibly into heaven. So is it that, or is it? I'm stuck with and I think one of the beauties of it is that we all going to have our own sort of opinion of it, and I think we I know at pushing 70, I reap what I sow. I sleep in the bed that I made, and I'm not saying it's a cautionary tale or any of that, but I think that's what happened. That's where they ended up. That's where they, they basically freed themselves of one another, so there was that. And in that way, the love story kind of continues.
Yeah, we got people watching in from all over the world tonight, from Taiwan, from the US, people saying that why was Asher going over the moon and how they leaned into the floating away thing. Yeah, I mean, Reddit is, which is a platform for all of these things. Reddit has been alight with various conspiracy theories, and there were so many parallels between like the baby being born and Asher being kind of sucked away, and like the new birth and him being taken away. And like you just said about the curse from the girl, or the curse, there was like a moment of the curse from Dougie, I think in episode 8, when he kind of like casually curses. And of course, Dougie, as the Safdie character, kind of breaks down right at the very end of it. There are multiple readings of it, I think.
And I think that's it. I don't think there is any one thing. And one of the beauties of the show is that it's so strange and odd, and you're not pulled along by a plot. I mean, one of the other things I know I read about and you acknowledge is that everything is loose at the end. Everything is giving the neighbor the house, and okay, there's nothing. It doesn't go anywhere. Is there somebody in the background who was watching Whitney in episode 9 or 8? Who is watching from the car? What happens with the parents? You don't know any of it. I think it's more of a show that, I'm not going to say it was designed. I'm not sure. I haven't really talked to Nathan, because now I want to talk to him. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What are you doing, man? And I think Nathan is a pretty interesting guy. If you look at Nathan For You, if you look at the rehearsal, he has a very keen understanding of human nature. And he writes, I don't think he wrote and said, I'm going to demonstrate what human nature is. I just think it was very real and very, even in his performance, it was very honest and truthful. And so I think, when something is a really wonderful work, there is no answer to it. It's not like the TV show Lost, where you're infinitely trying to figure it out and then you give up on the show because you can't figure out what they're doing on this island, or wherever the hell they are. I think this is just a sort of a poem of life, and you interpret it. It's like a poem. Poems you interpret. How does that affect me? How is that, where do I relate to that in life? And I think for me, that's what the show did. And yeah.
That's super interesting you say that. I mean, I really also agree with you, and picked up on that like strange observant moment of the car and what exactly was going on there. That happened in a couple of scenes for me. And it's also curious that you would say Lost, because that has been referred to in some of the chat I've seen, although it is a very different beast. But to me, actually, when we've been doing, we've done 9 shows talking about the curse each week by week, and I keep coming back to David Lynch, and I keep now, funnily enough, when I've seen this final episode, I kind of think like this is landmark television. And you remember back in the day of Twin Peaks, and the sensation that Twin Peaks was. And when I think about Twin Peaks now, that Twin Peaks aired on ABC, that would never happen now. Okay. No. And like a show like The Curse wouldn't air on ABC or CBS or NBC or wherever, it can only happen on, like, Twin Peaks was so revolutionary. And I'm not saying, I'm sure that Safdie and Fielder will kind of tip their cap to it, but I just think this is, I thought it was really spectacular.
Well, I'll tell you something else it is, because I have 4 sons, and they're all interested in film, and they write, and I read their scripts. And again, I'm an older guy where I come from story. This, therefore that, we build on story. And they keep saying to me, it's not important anymore. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl. That's not really important anymore. storytelling, and I've had to make this adjustment in my life. I mean, storytelling started on the walls of caves with, drawings. That was a way of telling story. So I think we've come to a period, even in my lifetime, our lifetime, storytelling had to be much more succinct in the 50s and 60s, and there was nothing that obscure. And now I think it's more like, I relate it more to like a poem, because if you read a poem, and I'm not a huge fan of poetry, I'm not, because I get lost in it, like, okay, what is it? Well, I don't know. But the more I read it and understand it, and I try to find where it relates to me, I think that's what this shows. I think that's where we're moving toward is, I mean, I would argue that Twin Peaks had more story. What's the story? There's no story.
Yeah.
What, they failed at their HGTV show, they succeeded. There is no story. Nothing ties up at the end, so there is no story, and it's just a true slice of life, I suppose, in this very odd way. But if you think like, well, wait, you know what? Life is odd. Wait, I'm born, I live all this life, I work really hard, I'm 70 years old, and you find out, fucking, I get 10 or 15 years, then you die. That's absurd. It's absurd. It's an absurd. We work so hard for our lives, and then, okay, you die. I just got a message a few minutes ago. A friend of my father's just died, and it's like, all right, well, that's it, over today. And that's in a strange way where the curse is. It just, shit happens.
Yeah, no, I love that idea of it as a poem, actually, Corbin. I've got some questions coming in because we're live here around the world. I've got some questions coming in. If you can give us another 5 minutes. I wanted to just go back and ask, like, how you got involved. Was it something you were approached and chose, or was it just another, I don't know, in your world, whether it's like something you auditioned for without knowing, or did you know about Safdie and Fielder? Tell me about it.
I was a big fan of Nathan's. I loved Nathan For You before that. And I got a call and said, would you audition? They want you to audition. And the truth is that, again, Talcott worlds that don't make sense. Somebody will hire me on the spot. I'm doing a show for J.J. Abrams right now, speaking of Lost, called me up. I can't wait to see what you do with this. Other people, people that I've just got a thing in 10 minutes ago, would you audition for this thing? I'm thinking, I don't know any of these people. I have to audition. Long story short, I like Nathan. I love Nathan For You. I loved the rehearsal. And I got this thing, said they would love you to read for it. And my son, my youngest son, who's a filmmaker, happened to be up where I live in New York. And I said, just film this for me. Let's have some fun. And it was the cherry tomato scene. So I immediately gravitated toward it. I got a call a couple of days later. I happened to be in Spain at that point, and they got on a Zoom with me, and it was sort of done very quickly. But no, I read for it. I think, I don't think they even knew that I was going to read, but I guess I did read. I don't even think they asked to, but they loved Major League and other things I've been in. So, yeah, I read for it, and then I had a little Zoom call, and there it is.
And were your scenes all shot in a short block? Because you're like in I think 5 or 6 scenes, but spread out over the 10 episodes. Were they all shot in a short block? And were you aware of what was going on in the rest of the script when you were shooting it?
I read the scripts up to 9. I didn't, because I just wanted to know what was happening. Of course, reading a script of that kind and seeing how it turns out is completely 2 different things. It's not like, oh yeah, that's the restaurant scene. I mean, stuff probably, given the way Nathan works and Benny, there's a lot of room on the sets to alter and change and move. But I wasn't there. No, I went back and forth 4 or 5 times.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I sort of have a rule that if I'm down and I've got a couple of weeks, I don't like to hang around. I like to come back home and.
Got it. Yeah. And I got a question from Jeff Keys, who's joining us. We're talking about one of your final scenes when Whitney comes round, and it's kind of hilarious that you guys, as the kind of slum landlords, have kind of taken, you're spending 6 days a week in this apartment for various technical reasons. And there's this small little scene where you're trying to trap a cockroach, I think, on the window. Was there any significance to that?
No, but I will tell you, Nathan was so pissed off at me that I couldn't catch the thing exactly where he wanted it caught. Nathan is for all that looseness, he's very specific about how he wanted it done. But you could argue again in his mind, because that was in the script. He's chasing a cockroach with a glass, right? I mean, is that not what's sort of happening here in this whole thing? I mean, again, is this just a microcosm of everything that's happening trapped in these glasses, And, you could argue that's about control. It's about, or it's just it's just a nonsensical thing that he thought would be something different in the scene. But I do know, let me tell you something, we only had a certain amount of cockroaches, and evidently, this is the stuff people don't know. So I put my glass down, and cockroaches are kind of quick, and I crushed a couple of them, and we were down to like 2 cockroaches. These are trained cockroaches, actually. There's a cockroach wrangler, and but I do remember it was not easy, but it was great because in your acting, it's just, all I was thinking about is the cockroaches. I didn't even know what I said to Whitney, to Emma at that point.
Wow, a cockroach wrangler. That's amazing.
It was absolutely a cockroach wrangler who got very upset with me because I kept killing cockroaches.
That's hilarious. Tell me about, just give me a couple of moments about their style, right? Because like when you're watching it, it's very, very different. You got long takes, you got excruciatingly long takes as you're watching the edit, the cut of it. And there's also kind of like almost like a distance between the camera and you. Often there's something placed between you and the camera. It might be a plant or a window. How is that different from the norm that you are used to with your tradition, with the other jobs that you have done?
I'll tell you, I was the bank, the scene where I get Emma, Whitney, the cash, the $40,000, right? I'm at the bank. Well, first of all, the shot of me in the bank is through a bank teller's drive-up window, through the window. And it's not like the camera's in the bank. And and it catches me coming outside. When I got in the car with her, though, honest to God's truth, we looked at each other and said, do you have any idea where the camera is? I had no idea. There was not a camera inside. It turned out being in the back of a van across the parking lot and through the window. I think, again, stylistic, even the cherry tomato scene was that little hothouse. It was outside a window looking into that room. But I think that's that, it just gives you that, it's that voyeuristic thing. And again, that's part of Nathan's thing, right? With Nathan For You, the rehearsal, all that, that's part of his style. But there's something interesting telling a story in that way, sort of not breaking the proscenium, but you're outside of it and you're really observing, looking in on it, as opposed to being there and trying to pretend like it's really happening there. It's again, it's like reading a piece of poetry. From the outside, I'm not trying to be in the poem. I'm outside trying to understand the poem. And, obviously it was very effective, but for an actor, it was fabulous because I had no idea where the camera was. And let me tell you something, when you take the camera away, it all changes. There's no camera in your face. There's me and Emma sitting in that little Mercedes or whatever it was. It's just she and I. You got a microphone on, but other than that, you're just talking. It really does something to performance.
Yeah. Jeff Keys in chat agrees it was very voyeuristic, and that's absolutely the way it was. Technically, Corbin, how do they tell you? Like, how do you know when it's time when action has started? How are you aware that you're starting?
Sometimes it was over a radio. Yeah, you have a radio in the car. There were times where you heard action. I didn't feel like it was. It's funny you say that because I don't remember the word action or cut too much. Because I guess you see people walking away with cameras and go, "Oh, this scene's over." It was but all that technical part of it, like I said, is I really don't remember you know, obviously the director usually calls action, but Nathan was in a couple of scenes with me, so he can't. I guess somebody called action.
Yeah.
I guess somebody did, but I just remember it starting and then stopping, but not
Yeah.
really that. Okay, now we're beginning, and now we're in again. You remove those, and that's why if you really look at, I mean, you know, I mean, obviously Emma was great, and Emma's an extraordinary actor. I mean, I've worked with one other person. I've had the good fortune of working with Robert Downey Jr., and it was in the same field of like, okay, your game just goes way up. Um, and but you know, it just I don't know. It just it takes you to a different level. Oh, I was going to say. So you look at all the other actors in there. I mean, all these people. They're real. Some are actors from New
Yeah.
Mexico. It's just
Yeah.
that quality. You don't get that quality when you stick a camera in somebody's face. You just start talking. Okay, start. I mean, I think maybe I hear that. Start. Something maybe like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted, before we finish, I just wanted to talk about Emma Stone. I mean, I think, I'm not saying we take her for granted. She is about to be Oscar nominated again, and probably has a very strong chance for Poor Things. She's absolutely extraordinary. And just has this kind of like sinuous way of working with Nathan Fielder and with you as the parents. Totally believable, totally compelling. You mentioned, I'm interested to know more about your comparison. Like, so you're saying that her and RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., are the two guys that put you right on your toes in terms of actors, yeah?
Right up there. You're just there with them. You know, I had a very early a coach that I worked with in my early training, and we talked a lot about acting as reacting. You know, really, it's reacting. It's the dance. I mean, obviously monologues are a different thing, but when you work opposite somebody like that, when you dance with somebody like that, it just naturally, water seeks its own level, or one of those expressions. You find yourself coming up. They're so in the game and so committed to it. But another word on Emma, the kindest. I mean, for all the accolades and all the stuff that's going on, and the awards and the nominations, probably one of the nicest actors I've ever worked with on a set. Giving, loving. Now she can mess with you. I mean, the first scene where we're doing this stuff, I have the yarmulke on, and I ask, "Can I have a yarmulke?" And I didn't. It was my first day, and I had no idea of this style. So I was like, "What I did," and I was flabbergasted. I just didn't know what I was doing. And she goes, "Can we still fire him?" That was the first thing she said. Can we still fire him? But really, really just a sweet, wonderful human being.
Well, that's good to know.
None of the stuff you would expect with an actress.
Yeah.
And
I know you've been around it and you've seen it all. I've seen it mainly. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Now, listen, I've got a crazy theory. I've got two more questions. I've got a crazy theory. Could there be a season 2? Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't. I'm not going to say there isn't, but obviously things do very well. Could there be? I've thought through that for many reasons. One is I'd love to do more of it. But if you really think about what would you do? Okay, so it was a dream. Okay, so they have a baby. He passed out while, that was him in the hospital, passed out while she was having her baby. But what are you going to do? Rewind and go back to that again? I think it's played out. I also, on a very practical reason, I think Miss Stone is going to be very busy.
They are going to be very busy. I suppose I'm saying that as,
yeah.
I'm saying, I know that Benny, I know they're all going to be very busy. I'm saying it as wish fulfillment, actually, because I just like being around those characters. The tension of the Nathan Nathan character, the kind of like weirdness of the Dougie character and the Emma character. Yeah, no, I just miss the characters. happily just will sort of watch them doing stuff for another hour. But you're right.
You'd be disappointed with whatever happens. I think you'd be disappointed. I mean, it'd start to feel like you'd have to start to invent story. Now it's like, okay, so if they didn't go into the Evans and we were just fooled, now then you're immediately going to destroy everything the curse is.
And you're going back to the Lost example that you gave, which a lot of people are uncomfortable. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, okay. Right. Listen, Corbin, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. Our fans have got one more question, is sure, whether you can tell us anything about Duster with J.J. Abrams. I don't know, you might be under an NDA, or you might tell us what you can.
Well, yeah, it's just a very, very cool set in the 70s. I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to say or not say. I haven't been told not to, but it's kind of in the vein of all those great 70s getaway. Duster's a car. It's a car. Josh Holloway is a driver, and it's kind of it's somewhere between caper, dark comedy, a little bit of Quentin Tarantino, if you will, and just JJ's other sort of absurd things that he likes to do. But it's you know, and it's got rock and roll. It's got music in it, and again, it's a thing. I'll tell you what I love is you know what I love when I do things. I read scripts, I do the work, and you're just excited to see how it's going to come out, just like everybody else, because you don't know, because you know there's this other element to it that they all know or nobody knows. You're going to put it all together and you're going to see what comes out. I think that happened with The Curse. I mean, you read The Curse script, you go, oh, okay, weird, I don't know. Then you see the scenes, you see what Nathan does and Emma does, see what Josh Holloway does, Gail O'Grady, who plays my wife in Duster. You see what everybody's doing, and you go, I'm like everybody else. I just want to see what happens. I want to see how it turns out. So very cool. I think we're a good year off of that because we're still filming. We got delayed during the strike. We just went back to work a couple weeks ago.
I got one final question, Corbin, from Jeff asking us on chat. Psych Movie 4. I'm not familiar with the Psych movies. Tell us about the Psych. Is there going to be another Psych movie?
Well, you know, there's a lot of chatter about that. I just got something today. I saw something, you know, everybody wants it. We did 8 years of the show series. Then we did 3 movies. There's a 4th one that's been written. You know, Psych has got this unbelievable fan base that won't give up. We talk as a group, the Psych cast, almost daily, which is just very strange. I mean, Tim Amundsen, wonderful actor, kind of keeps it very much alive, but we're in constant communication. And I know there's a script, and I guess they're just waiting, you know, at Peacock or whatever their NBC. I can't keep track of who's who anymore.
Yeah.
I default to Apple to go find everything, and I'll just pay for it. I can't. I'm one of these guys. I cannot keep track of all the different streamers, so I just, you know, I go look on Apple, find it, and if I don't have it, I pay for it.
All right, listen, I've loved talking to you. I know our fans around the world have loved talking to you. We really, really appreciate you doing this and taking the time to talk to us. Thank you so much. Good luck with your current and future projects. And we've loved the show. We've done 10 episodes talking about it. If you're watching it around the world, stay with us because we're going to have Jeff Jeff's going to join me in a second. But let's hear it for Corbin Bernsen. Corbin, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, get your Cherry Tomatoes t-shirt. My kids just showed me there's a Cherry Tomatoes guys t-shirt out there.
Well, I've got that's so funny. I've got a bunch of TV t-shirts, so I'm going to get the cherry I didn't ask you about how it felt. I didn't ask you. I didn't want to be too oversensitive and ask you about how it felt being a man who had the cherry tomato, as we say, tomato in England, syndrome, and with his son. You didn't mind playing that as the character?
No, you know what? I love that was great, man. Yeah, you didn't have that was the most important question. Everybody's like, you really want to do that? And I said, the smaller the better.
Exactly. And actually that was the way that the show in one way, that's kind of one of the ways the show took off. That was the first moment. I know you're I've looked at your Twitter feed. I'm the same as you. It's all a bunch of crap, you know, about how we need to go viral and how we need to do all this stuff. But that was the first time that the show was really picked up on in episode 1 or 2. I think it was episode 1, actually, the cherry tomato. Yeah, that was the first moment. But it was a landmark scene. It was very funny.
Well, it breaks the ice of what's to come. It sort of invites you, it opens the door. All right.
So we got, thank you so much, Corbin. Okay, everyone else stay with us. I'm going to bring Jeff on in a minute. Thanks, Corbin. Speak to you soon. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Okay, give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Actually, I'll bring Jeff on. I'll be right back.
I don't know how well this is going to read on camera, but this is a log, and I can't let it go or I'll float up into space. Does it read as a log on camera? That was fantastic having Corbin on. I'm glad he was able to download the app and figure out how to get on with us.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was just telling everybody that I can't let go of this log or else I'm going to float away.
Well, let's say, Jeff, that was amazing. You were the person who got him, and what a guy.
Yeah, I've been a fan of his for a long time. We've been Facebook friends for years, since the Psych series was running on the USA Network in America.
What is the Psych series? Because I have no idea what it is, and I'm slightly embarrassed that I didn't do my research. I've been super busy, but what is it?
It's a guy who has like super powers of observation, like kind of like a Sherlock Holmes, but he plays it off as being psychic, and he works with, you know how police will sometimes consult a psychic in cases. He works with a police department as a psychic, but really he just has super powers of observation.
And he's the main guy, yeah?
Well, Corbin played his father.
Okay.
And
who's the lead actor in it?
What's the guy's name? Let me look real quick. James Roday is the main guy, and then Dule Hill was his buddy. They had like a really bromance kind of buddy comedy.
I'm slightly buzzing from the call with him, actually, because he was so nice.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
He was absolutely fantastic and open. And what were your takeaways from that conversation that I had with him? And again, I'm very grateful to you for arranging that, because it's you that arranged that. We are very grateful for you doing that. So what were your takeaways from what he said and
I think it's funny that even the actors didn't really know what the heck was going on with the finale. They're like just as flabbergasted as we are by the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm just looking at people in chat. Omi Wins say thank you very much. Cheeky Baby saying thank you very much. Dot saying thank you very much. Mela, Tsumabuki. Yeah. So we've obviously shared messages, and I was like writing my notes as usual until it got to about 15 minutes into the show. And my notes kind of go, hang on, let me just show you this. Where am I? Oh yeah, she's pregnant, and they're on this Rachel show, and there's that famous actor, etc. Oh, and then they have that scene where they go around to Apshia's house to give him the money, to give him the house. And
that was hilarious, especially because it was supposed to be a gift to her that he was going to gift them this house, and just the look on his face of gratitude was supposed to be her present. But they go to the house, and he has zero gratitude at all. The first thing he says is, "Are you going to pay the property taxes for the rest of the year?" When they give him the whole house.
That's basically what he says. So I'm like going, okay, this is intensely amusing and par for the course. I don't know whether there was a read to make on that particular scene, or that before the finale really kicks off. Was there a read on that Apshia scene as far as you were concerned?
Everybody seemed to be freaking out about that guy that was in their house.
Right. Who was that?
I don't know. I thought maybe he was the lawyer that Apshia was referring to, because he said he had contacted a lawyer about the stuff with the house. But I wasn't sure. A lot of people are saying a lot of different stuff, like maybe he was Apshia's boyfriend, or
yeah.
I don't know. They left it really vague.
But there was noticeable, though, that there was someone in the background. You're not going to point out there's someone in the background if there's no point. I wondered whether it was a wife or someone. Yeah, but yes. So then it suddenly happens, doesn't it? Then it happens like 15 minutes in. We cut to them in bed. We cut to her in bed, rather. And bang. He's on the ceiling. And he never comes down. He goes to the front door. It's incredible. It was incredibly well made. And we revolve to the end when he's like cut off that tree and floating into space. I've got a couple of stylistic comments about it, but what have you read, like, or what have you thought, or what have you read about theories about what on earth is going on? These are all cross-cut, by the way, for if you haven't watched it, between her delivering the baby. And I think it's probably important that the baby is like, in terms of the plot, a breech baby, and therefore they have to go for the C-section. That seems to have significance. So what do you think?
Yeah, and it seemed to be that he floated off just as the baby was actually delivered. Like when they placed the baby into her arms in the hospital, back home at the house, they cut the branch and he flies off at the exact same moment that the baby is born. So I think that was significant. And one of the things I did notice from an earlier episode when Asher said if she didn't need him that he would just disappear, and that kind of came to fruition in the finale. Maybe she doesn't need him at all anymore, that the show is a success. It's renewed for season 2, and the baby's born, so there's really no purpose in having him around anymore. So he just floated off. Or a lot of people are saying that Nala's curse maybe wasn't really ever about chicken, but she just made that up when he confronted her, and she actually wished for him to float away or fly off into space, and it finally came true in the final episode, because her curses seem to be delayed, to take time. Like when she did the fall curse on the girl at school, it didn't happen immediately like we thought it was going to, but later on the kid fell and her curse came true.
Some people have said that Nala's, that exact scene actually of the rope climbing was a kind of foreshadowing of this, that Nala's seen. There was another foreshadowing scene that I can't quite remember at the moment. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. I was going to say was that Dougie. Have you seen this whole theory about Dougie casting a curse on Asher at the end of episode 8 in the car? And now, why is Dougie so tearful at the end of episode 10, at the end of the finale? Is that because it's his dear friend, which seems a bit ridiculous to me because it doesn't seem like Dougie would do that? Or is Dougie having this expulsion of emotion because of the death of his wife? Or did he in fact curse Asher at the end of episode 8? Some people are saying that.
He did curse him at the end of episode 8, and maybe that's the curse that made him fly away. I don't know, but I think when he was upset because he made an assumption about Asher, and he thought he was just being a fool and having cold feet about being a father, and thought that he wasn't really defying gravity. He was just scared, and he wanted to get that for the TV show. He thought that would be good, to show Asher being, a fool. But he didn't really listen to him about what was really going on. And I think maybe when he started crying, he realized that his wish to capture Asher being a fool was more important to him than actually trying to save his friend.
It seemed like actual real emotion from Dougie at that point, rather than the kind of fake emotion we've seen from him all the way through, like fake emotion in many episodes.
Yeah. I think it was just maybe because he realized he put the show ahead of his friendship, and trying to get good footage for the show was more important to him than trying to actually help his friend.
I'm not completely sure I would agree necessarily that the friendship for Dougie was so important, but I'll have to think about that. Yeah. I think Dougie was a very selfish individual.
And plus, that maybe his cash cow floating away into space.
Well, yes. Yeah. If we talk about the style of it, it's funny about the way it's shot. And when we were talking to Corbin earlier, when this episode started, and suddenly, like you pointed out in your notes to me, that's like suddenly she's like 8 months pregnant, right? Which obviously jumped in time to the TV show, and she's now about to give birth. And I suddenly started thinking about Rosemary's Baby, which is a 1966 Roman Polanski film. And then I started thinking, actually, when he was caught up into the rafters of his house, kind of like my house here, actually. I'm at home, it's kind of the same. He's caught up there. It's kind of like thought about horror movies of the 70s, like the Amityville Horror, and like it had a horror movie of the 70s vibe for me. And then I thought about, do you know a filmmaker called Vincenzo Natale in the late 90s? He's a guy who made these like movies called The Cube and Cypher. Do you remember those movies?
Yeah. I haven't seen them, but I remember them.
Yeah, they were like the flavor du jour of the late 90s. And we thought this guy, I mean, he's still a very reputed TV director, a very good director. But it was just like that, coupled with the David Lynch stuff that we were talking about with Corbin earlier, was to me very interesting. Yeah.
There was some hilarious physical comedy in the house with Nathan being stuck to the roof and Emma being scared that she was going to get stuck to the roof as well and having to hold on to the floor or hold on to whatever she could while she was trying to get out of the house. I thought those scenes were hilarious and it's shot amazingly.
Really amazingly shot. And that's what we asked Corbin, and he said they were all shot in a studio because, of course, you got to like, turn the camera one way, and you can't, you can figure it out, but it messes with your head how to do that. But absolutely.
I hope they show some behind the scenes about how they shot that. Because it would be great to see.
Like
the turning of the set.
Yeah, it was frustrating to watch them get to try the phone. Dodd is right. It was frustrating to try to get the phone, but the whole thing about the show was there were so many frustrating scenes. There were so many enervating scenes within it. And I thought what was interesting that Corbin brought up in our conversation earlier was these weird scenes that seemed to happen later on in the series of like, they were almost shot from within a car, like these observing scenes, like driving along. There was definitely one right at the end of episode 10. Did you know what these scenes were meant to?
No. It was part of the voyeuristic theme of the show.
Yeah, and some things weren't resolved, like the jeans wasn't particularly resolved, was it? The jeans shop wasn't particularly resolved. The whole which led me to think, and I asked Corbin, but he didn't seem to have any intel on it, which is could there be episode 2, series 2 rather? I think there could be series 2. It would be a magic realism situation in which Nathan is Asher is brought back down to earth. I don't know, but maybe sometimes maybe one and done is the best way.
They could rescue him and thaw him out, maybe, but I don't know. Safdie has said that season 2 is not off the table, although it's not currently in the works, and they're not working on it, or he's not writing it or anything. But he seems to say that he was open to the idea.
But you can also imagine that Safdie and Fielder are extremely busy people, and so is Emma Stone. Yeah. Dot says it was all a dream, or Twist that it was all the baby's dream. I don't mind either of those. And I do think it was nice hearing Corbin. I'm the same as Corbin. I'm not a poetry guy, but I could see how he could refer to it as a poem, like that. It could be open for interpretation.
It definitely created a lot of buzz of people. So a lot of people were saying, I've been analyzing every little detail of this entire show for 10 weeks now, and then Nathan Fielder just flies off into space and that's it.
Yeah. But I was serious what I meant with Corbin. It's 30 years, I think, since Twin Peaks aired on ABC, which still is actually a mind-boggling moment of television history. The fact that show actually aired on ABC, the fact that show actually... If you're not aware of that, you should go and investigate and read that and watch that show. But
I thought it was kind of funny they had Vincent Pastore from The Sopranos on the show, because the show airs on Showtime here, which is like HBO's main competitor. So I wonder if maybe if Vincent Pastore was on there from the beginning, or if they just added him maybe because it was the 25th anniversary of The Sopranos and they thought that would be a good idea.
Yeah. So listen, I'm going to miss our weekly chats now. Sorry, I'm very dark tonight. I've messed up on my home lighting, but what are we going to do next? I mean, I've really enjoyed this. Like I said to you, it works better when we can watch the show at the same time, when it's released at the same time. And obviously, I'm doing this Traitors show, and I know Traitors US has started, but I don't want to cross streams.
Right. We'll find something.
You're doing your podcast in about 10 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about your podcast. What do you generally talk about, and tell us about it.
We talk about all kinds of things: television, movies, music, comedy is a big thing on our show. Stand-up comedy.
So do you do like we do? Do you prep your topics in advance? What are you going to talk about tonight in your podcast?
I think we're talking about the Emmys this week.
Mm-hmm.
last week most of the episode focused on, I don't know if you saw it, but there was an AI generated George Carlin comedy special that came out.
Yeah.
We talked about that quite a bit, and I kind of took the side of Carlin's daughter, saying if you want to see Carlin so bad, there's probably 20 specials you can just pull up and anywhere on YouTube or HBO Max or whatever and just watch them. There's no need to have AI try and match the genius of George Carlin, because it did not. I don't know if you saw any of it, but
I just saw the headline. I didn't watch any of the actual thing itself. Okay, so for the last time, for now, because it is only for now, because we'll do this again we'll find another episode. What's your highlight of the week in terms of like other cultural things?
I'm still enjoying Funny Woman. Jim Addison.
Oh, good, yeah.
Episode
so
2 is very good.
You're good on that, yeah. Okay.
They kind of shied away from the thing that I really liked about episode 1, about how they mixed her into the old footage. They didn't do that so much in episode 2, and maybe they're moving away from that. They did a lot of the kind of 60s side-by-side scenes, like kind of like Batman-ish, with the way they shot it, where there's crazy wipes on the screen, and there's one person in one box, like the Brady Bunch almost. So it's very good. I started watching Ted on Peacock here in the U.S., which is a prequel series based on the movies, with Seth MacFarlane doing the teddy bear voice.
Are you serious? There's a TV prequel of Ted, the Seth MacFarlane. Is that the movie? Was Mark Wahlberg in that movie?
Mark Wahlberg's in the movie, but he's not in the show. This is like a younger
There's a TV show based on that?
Yeah, and it's hilarious.
Oh, you think the TV show is hilarious?
Yeah, I've only watched the first one so far, but it's very good.
Is Seth MacFarlane directly involved?
He's doing the voice of Ted. I'm not sure if he's writing or directing anything, but he's definitely doing the voice.
Okay. I guess stranger things have happened, but he is pretty funny.
So this is Mark Wahlberg's character is in high school, and Ted has been around for a few years, it seems like. But it's a prequel to the movies. I'm enjoying it so far, and I recommend it if you can find it over there.
Okay. Dot says Ted was kind of cute, whether that was the movie or the new series. I'll give you, well, you know what I'm going to give you? I'm going to give you The Traitors, because I'm doing the show on The Traitors. Love The Traitors UK. I know that Traitors US. So don't give me any spoilers at all. Have you started watching The Traitors US?
I started watching season 1.
Oh,
although season 2 has just started.
How many episodes have you watched?
I've watched two of season 1.
Look, listen, I'm not defending it, right? It's tacky, it's leave your brain at the door, it's reality TV, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I like some of the contestants that are on there. I'm a big Survivor fan, so.
Well, if you like Survivor, yeah, that's probably your thing. The other thing I saw, because I was traveling last week. I saw Blackberry, the movie. Is that what it's called? Blackberry? Don't know what it's called. Have you seen that movie?
I saw the advertisements. I haven't seen the movie.
You know, there's this trend for now, like Air, the Nike movie, and Blackberry and Tetris, the movie. There's this trend for all these movies about, you know, and like the We Worked, all these kind of like movies. Blackberry, the movie, is actually pretty good, and helmed by a super central performance by a very angry guy, whose name I can't remember, that I'd have to look up. I didn't know this actor, but a brilliant performance by him. Yeah, it's quite good, but at the end of the day, it's like another one of these, like, you know, modern business startup movies like We Worked, or, you know, all these kind of things.
I'll check it out. What is that streaming now?
I saw on the plane, but I think it's probably streaming. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen Air? The Nike. Have you seen that? Is it good?
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I still haven't. I've resisted that, but I should watch that. Okay, I'll watch that next. All right. Okay. All right. Listen, Jeff, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to Corbs, especially. That was an amazing conversation. Thanks to you for arranging that conversation. Thanks for everyone for putting in the conversation. Sorry I was so dark. We'll be back. We'll be back soon. All right.
Yeah, we'll find another show to talk about. Something will jump out at us.
All right. Message me on Discord. All right. Speak to you later. Thanks, everyone. Okay, bye, bye, bye. There you go. There you go. Thanks, everyone.